This conference will now be recorded.
So let's talk about certain points that we all have to follow in order to make sure that we are all in the same page. You're all doing as per my expectation to make sure that you will understand the subject in a proper way, wherein you are going to work in your project. So your end target is to make sure tomorrow when you're in a project, make sure you're not confused and you're not feeling uncomfortable, you're not feeling something that I do not know this. So that is the end target of yours. Do not think from your interview point of view. Always think after clearing your interview, if you're in a project, how you are going to manage. Keep only this point in your mind during your training. Alright. So I'm not going to teach anything based on your interview. I am going to teach everything considering you already got a job, you're working in a project, what you need to know, how you need to manage. That is what is my focus. I want you also to focus on the same point. For this, there are certain criteria, there are certain instructions, rules that you need to follow to make sure that you will not get into any confusion. Reason why I'm talking this at the beginning, point number one, you may be already trained on SAP. First point, most of you may be already trained on SAP. Point number two, you are working on SAP. Point number three, you are new to SAP. I think everybody will fit in either of these three categories. So I am going to explain in such a way that this is common whether you are already trained on SAP FICO. This is common if you're already working on SAP FICO. This is common if you're new to SAP FICO, which means you do not know anything about SAP FICO before. Now you're getting to know. Still, it is the same. Now, do not refer your existing notes, material, videos, or other sources until I instruct that you can refer anything. Till that time, you're not supposed to refer any notes, any material, any videos, content from any other sources. Let it be YouTube, let it be Google, or any other document somebody gave you something. Please do not refer it because the way I take you through is completely different. If you're following me, what I'm telling, if you're referring any other point, you will end up getting confused. Okay, if you're following these things and if you're following me, okay, you will end up getting a confusion which I do not want to happen. I will tell you from when you can start referring to anything. I'll tell you at one stage where you can refer anything. You can watch any trainer's YouTube video, you can watch any trainer's material, you can watch anyone's document, anything you can watch, wherein you will not get confused. You will be able to understand why they are doing like that, why this document is talking like this, why somebody is telling like this. I'll tell you, once I take you to that level, I'll tell you this takes approximately 1 month, not more than 1 month. Within a month, you will be able to understand what is what. At that level, you can refer anything. You can follow any content, any video, you can compare with whatever you want. But until I instruct, please do not follow anything. Strictly do what I am telling so that you will have the strong base based on which you will be able to understand, you will be able to explore, you will be able to experiment different things on SAP, which will help you not only during your learning but also when you're on the project. Okay, so these points are mandatory. These points are very important. So for time being, do not refer anything. whatever the information, whatever the understanding and knowledge that you have on SAP FICO, for time being, keep it aside. Do not even try to compare why like this. Whatever we are doing, keep only these points, keep only this sequence in your mind. Clear? Wherever you find getting confused, your existing data you keep it aside. Whatever I teach, whatever the sequence flow I tell, go in the same sequence, go in the same flow. Okay, so before we start, so first thing that I want everybody to know is basic accounting. So I'll talk about all these points in detail, whatever is needed for us to become a good FICO consultant. To that extent, whatever is needed, we will be discussing in detail practically. Basic accounting is mandatory. Next one, journal entries are mandatory. Third one, basic Excel working is mandatory. Fourth point, basic terminology in SAP FICO is mandatory. So you must know basic accounting, like what is debit, what is credit, trial balance, P&L, balance sheet. These terms you should know what is what. Next one, most important, journal entries. If you're talking about any business transaction like capital, sales, purchases, returns, expenses, incomes, we must be in a position to write and understand the journal entry. This is also mandatory. Next one, basic Excel working. You must be good at least the basic level of Excel. If you're not good at this, you have to start working on Excel sheets right from the beginning. As a FICO consultant, if you're not good at Excel, you will face a lot of problems, not because of SAP FICO, but because of Excel sheet knowledge. Okay, make sure that you know the basic Excel, like basic formulas. How do you sum? How do you copy paste? How do you create a different sheets? Your VLOOKUPs and your pivot tables. These kind of basic points you must know. When I'm showing the different reports, I will show you how to use this basic Excel formulas. But those who are not aware of it, start learning or start experimenting on SAP. Okay, whatever the data we will take into SAP, and then we will experiment the Excel based on our Excel sheet with SAP data. Next one, basic terminology in SAP FICO. When we talk about basic terminology in SAP FICO, make sure there are certain terms that you must be aware of. Okay, let's say if somebody is talking about SAP, you must know what is SAP, full form of SAP. These points I will not be talking about. Okay, SAP, everybody knows what is the full form of SAP. So you have to know the basic terminology on SAP. And if you're talking about project, what is project? How many type of projects you have? Implementation, rollout, support. So in SAP, how many instances or how many environments are there? You have ECC environment, you have S4HANA environment. In ECC, how many versions are there? In S4HANA, how many versions are there? What is the current version or what is the latest version? Even if you Google, you will freely get this content. Whether I teach, whether you read, whether you find it on Google, it is the same thing. Okay, this is the basic terminology, basic thing that we must be aware of. Similarly, modules or submodules in SAP FICO and accounting. In SAP FICO and in accounting, what are the modules you have? What are the submodules you have? If you're talking about FI as financial accounting, CO as cost accounting or controlling, in FI, what do we have? You have baseline configuration followed by GL, AP, AR, all these points. I'll simply put few points here. I'll put FI, I'll put CO. In FI, I'll put baseline configuration followed by general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable, cash accounting, bank accounting. Next one, taxation, asset accounting, and integrations. This is what basically you have in FI at broad level. Similarly, from the controlling side, you will have general controlling, cost elements, cost centers, profit centers, internal orders, product costing, and profitability analysis. These are the basic points that we must be aware of as module or submodule within your FI, within your CO. This is only a broad heading. Apart from this, there are different other points which will not be fit into this, which are common elements. Let's say if you talk about validations, substitutions, validation substitution is not part of any of this. That's a different functionality. Similarly, if you talk about assessment cycle, distribution cycle, that is not part of any of this. That's a different functionality, which means common in your SAP. So when you are learning, when you are trying to understand the different points, make sure you are not relating, you are not linking one point with the other point. So see everything as an independent point from the business process point of view, from the SAP point of view separately. Don't see that this is already part of accounts payable. I don't need to know it separately. When you're talking about accounts payable, we are not expanding accounts payable. When you're expanding accounts payable, you will find a big list of activities that are executed in accounts payable. Similarly, receivable, cash, bank accounting and all. So we're not expanding all this. Slowly we will expand everything. We will try to understand what is there inside each of the submodule or in each of the module. But as of now, I want everybody to make sure that these points are there in your mind when you talk about FI, when you talk about CO at high level. After this, at each module, what will happen, you need to know. There is something called baseline configuration. This is pure SAP related thing. Baseline configuration is purely SAP related thing. There is nothing that you should know from the accounting side for this. Next one, when you talk about general ledger, you must know what is general ledger. In short, everybody will call it as GL module. When you talk about general ledger or when you talk about GL module, what is there inside the general ledger or inside the GL module? What exactly a user will do or what exactly happens in any organization when it comes to GL? Basic points we need to know. No need of knowing everything. At least if you know few points, what will happen inside this, that will give us a good beginning to start with. Instead of starting blindly only from the configuration, it is always recommended you know what happens in a GL module in any organization. At least few points are more than enough. During your practice, during your course, you will get to know everything, majority of the points, but initially we must make sure at least we are aware of certain basic points. So you must know about general ledger. Next one, accounts payable. What is accounts payable? What will happen in the accounts payable in any organization? When somebody talks about accounts payable, what it is, what they will do and all, you must be aware of. Similarly, accounts receivable. What will happen in accounts receivable? What kind of entries, transactions are posted? How accounts payable operates in any organization in real time. Similarly, cash accounting. What exactly every organization will do in cash accounting? How do they manage their cash? Okay, next one, bank accounting. How your bank accounts are operated in every organization. How do they manage their bank accounts? How do they do their bank reconciliations or BRS, etc. Next one, taxation. If there is taxation, how taxation is handled in SAP? First of all, what is taxation? We must be aware of in general. Before coming into SAP, you must know what is taxation, how taxes are getting calculated and all. Same thing we will be understanding from the SAP point of view. Next one, asset accounting. When it comes to asset accounting, how your fixed assets are managed in the real environment and how depreciation is calculated, what kind of reports and all they will do. This we need to understand from the business or the organization point of view. Similarly, we will relate this understanding with SAP. Finally, integrations. When you're talking about integration, make sure you are aware of what is integration, what are the different modules that you have in SAP, how each module is getting integrated with the different module. And these points are something that you can easily connect, that you can easily relate, because everybody is aware of something or the other related to each of these points from GL until integration. But when it comes to CO or controlling, these points may be new for everybody. Maybe somebody who is already trained, who is already working, may have some knowledge, some familiarity. So these points, initially, if you remember the name, that is fine. Initially, I don't want you to know what is cost element, what is cost center, what is profit center. If you remember these points as it is, that is more than enough. We will understand slowly what are all this, why we use, and how these are connected to your accounting. But initially, try to remember only the points, that is more than sufficient. After this, now at initial level, I want everybody to have all these points on your mind. And next one, this is something that should always sit in your mind. Data flow in SAP FICO. How data flows in SAP FICO? As a consultant, the way you have to follow the sequence. It is always business requirement. Second one is configuration. Third one is master data. Fourth one is transaction data. Fifth one is reports. These are the 5 points that you must keep in your mind as data flow or the sequence in your SAP FICO. Whenever you're talking about any process, whenever you're talking about any point in SAP FICO, right from the beginning, these 5 points should sit in your mind strictly. Which means, if you want to do anything, first you should know what is the business requirement. If you have no business requirement, do not think further, ignore it there. First, try to understand what is the business requirement. In short, what is the business process? Based on the business requirement, based on the business process, understand this is my requirement, this is my process. How will I do it in SAP? In SAP, remember, without configuration, nothing will work. If you want to do anything on SAP, make sure you need to configure the system according to your requirement. SAP is not a predefined application. SAP is not a ready to use application. You need to customize the system. Customization is nothing but making settings. Configuration is nothing but you do initial setup. The way you purchase a mobile phone, nothing will be there in it. Whatever the apps you want, you have to install. In what language you want, you need to set up. The initial setup, whatever you do when you purchase a new mobile, similarly, you need to do initial setup in SAP. When you're doing initial setup, your initial setup is always based on your business requirement. Understand the business requirement. Based on the requirement, we have to think what settings we need to define. First of all, what are the configuration steps that are available in SAP? How do you verify? Only when you know what you need to configure. Whatever you want to configure, that is nothing but business requirement. Let's say I want to configure accounts receivable, or I want to practice, I want to learn about accounts receivable. Now, I'm not going to configure everything. In my mind, there is something which is called as accounts receivable. According to me, accounts receivable is my requirement. My requirement is to practice or understand accounts receivable. First, try to understand, try to know what is accounts receivable. What happens in accounts receivable, what I want to do in accounts receivable, what I want to test, see from accounts receivable. So there you need to sit and then list out few points. In accounts receivable, you are going to have customer. To customer, you will sell. What you will sell to the customer? To a customer, you will sell either a product or a service. Okay, when I'm doing any sale, is there any accounting? Yes. What accounting you are going to record when you sell anything to a customer? I will say, okay, I will debit customer account, I will credit sales account. How customer is coming to me? So customer is coming to me to purchase. Am I selling in a shop? No. If I'm selling in a shop, okay, customer is coming and he is purchasing. I will call it as walk-in customer. Okay, in case the customer is not coming to my shop, then how customer is purchasing from me? How I'm going to place my, or how I'm going to sell my product? So how do I receive the customer? These kind of basic points, if you're able to think, you will understand the processes majoritarily on your own. Because most of these points, most of these processes, we are already aware of it. It is just that you need to just think once again to make sure you recollect everything, and whatever the basic level understanding that you have with your simple generic examples, with those simple generic examples only, it is very easy for you to connect. Straight away, if you go to SAP, straight away, if you look at configuration, T code, document material, nothing is going to be clear. Initially, you will find this is very simple. Only three settings are there, only three screens are there. But later on, you will realize that this is not going to help me anywhere. So later on, we are not supposed to realize. Let us realize everything at the beginning itself. If it is a simple, straightforward, we will not be talking about it. Because it is a simple, straightforward, no point of talking about it. Things which are complex, things which will put you in tricky situation, things where you need to apply your consulting skill set, that is what we will be focusing on to understand, to develop our skill set. So your configuration is purely dependent on business requirement. Strictly, you are not supposed to do any configuration on the system without having a business requirement or without having an example on your mind. Make sure you take one example. This example you will execute in SAP. Based on that, you are able to further process it to see the output. Because everybody is aware of basic accounting. Anyway, we will be talking about all the basic accounting. Based on that, whatever the requirement that you take, ensure that your requirement, you are able to design it, you are able to draft it, and you are able to bring the output from the system. Wherever you are getting confused, wherever you are not able to understand, I am here to help you. I am here to make you understand where you are going wrong, what you need to think, how you need to think. But you need to start putting your effort right from the beginning. It's not that whatever I do, you blindly repeat it, you're not going to learn anything. So whatever I teach, you do it in the similar way, but try to do something different of your own. Try to think similarly, try to change the numbers, try to change the names and all. Make sure you're able to do it without having any confusion. Wherever you feel any doubt, confusion, question, you can always reach out to me on my WhatsApp. Put a message in the group that we have now. Anybody can reply to the questions that anybody is posting if you are aware of it. Okay, so we will strictly use our group for the communicating with each other on all the queries, questions, doubts, issues that you have. No rule that I only should respond. If somebody is posting a question, if somebody is having a confusion, if you are aware of it, you can respond straight away. No need to think that if I should respond or not. As long as it is related to subject, anybody can respond. No personal chatting on our WhatsApp groups. Okay, once you do the configuration, Next thing is to do the testing. When it comes to testing, you are going to test based on two elements. You are going to test based on two elements. First point is master data. Second point is transaction data. In order to test anything, you need to create something on the system. You will be able to create something on system only when you have master record. So which master record you are going to create? There will be different type of master records. Based on the business requirement only, you are going to decide whether you need GL account master data, customer master data, vendor master data, cost center master, profit center master, or any other master data. So again, this is connected to your business requirement. Once you have the relevant master record in place, you are going to record a transaction. Which transaction you are going to post, how you will post a transaction, again this is dependent on your business requirement. If your intention is to practice accounts receivable, you must know what is the business process of accounts receivable, what kind of transactions are posted in accounts receivable. If you know in accounts receivable, it is all about a sale. You must know how do I create a sale. Is it that I go to a transaction, I will debit customer, I will credit sale, or in the organization, this sale is recorded in any other way? In any other way, I mean to say the organizations, the customers will place the order. Based on the customer order, the organization or company will deliver the product. Based on whatever is delivered, they are going to provide a bill or the invoice. If this is what the accounts receivable works in any organization, what am I doing? Is my understanding, is my configuration, is my business process related to the similar to any existing organization which is working on SAP, or it is something which is different that I am thinking? So right from the beginning, if you are able to visualize everything, you will not find a difficulty anywhere going forward. Initially, yes, there may be a slight difficulty, but this is initially only. Within a week's time, you will start realizing that the way you need to understand, the way you need to think. But initial first 1 week, you may find a lot of confusions. You may think that this is creating a lot of confusion. I'm not able to understand. I'm not able to follow. This is only for a week. As I said, first 1 month, whatever we learn, first 1 month, whatever you understand is a 1 day effort after 1 month. Whatever the efforts that you are putting in for 1 month, all your 1 month effort, you will put it on the system, you will bring the outputs within 1 day. To give you or to make sure that you are able to understand without any confusion, without any doubt, whatever you talk, you are able to talk, explain to anybody confidently, it takes 1 month. This 1 month effort you will see in 1 day practically on SAP system. You will be able to generate a balance sheet by taking your own example, and you will be able to explain why you took this example, how you arrived at this balance sheet figure, including TB P&L balance sheet within a 1 month. With your own imaginary data, you will be able to extract from SAP. From a point wherein a project executes an implementation project. In an implementation project, whatever happens, keeping these points in your mind, everybody will be able to explain on your own how the data flows in SAP if you're working on any implementation project. This is all you will be able to practice in 1 day within a month time. So for that, it takes approximately 1 month time. At that time, you will have the complete understanding at very high level on SAP FICO. So at that time, whatever the topic, whatever the areas that you look at, you will start understanding, you will start realizing why these are used, how you need to configure, how you need to test, whether the way you are going is right or wrong. You will be able to decide, you will be able to have your own clarification. But till that time, you might find a little difficulty. It's not difficult, slight difficulties will be there, but on a daily basis, all your questions, confusions, difficulties, I will be clarifying whatever it is. Okay, once you create the master record, you will create the transaction. Once the master is in place, transactions are posted. That is where the key element, which is your report, will come into picture. In the report, you are going to verify whether whatever you did, backtrace, whether the transaction is correct, whether the master record is correct, whether my configuration is correct, whether my requirement is correct in first place or not, is going to be decided by your report. For this, you must know what is your business requirement. If your first point is clear, your last point will be clear. These are all intermediary points. So these points will have a prerequisite, these points will have a verification. If your prerequisite, your business requirement is not there, whatever you do here is of no use. If you do not know what is your business requirement, whatever the config you do, whatever the master you create, how many transactions you create are of no use. Because when you do not know the requirement, you do not know why you configured like this. You do not know why did you create this GL account or any other account. You do not know why you posted these entries. Obviously, when we are not aware of this, we will not know what to understand or what to check in the report. We will go to a report, we will execute the report, something will come in the output. Whether the output is right or wrong, we will not be in a position to identify because we are not clear with the point number 1, which is the requirement. If the requirement is clear, everything will be clear. If the requirement is not clear, whatever we do will not be clear. This is straight away dependent on each other. You must strictly follow the same sequence right from the beginning throughout your SAP FICO career. It's not that initially you will understand it, later on not required. Throughout your SAP FICO career, you must follow this. These are the basic fundamentals without which it is not possible for us to understand SAP. No matter how many years of experience you hold, if you're not sticking to the basic fundamentals, you will end up getting lost somewhere. Somewhere or the other, you will get into a confusion. Unless you are strong on the fundamentals, it is not possible for us to resolve certain errors, understand certain business requirements, or to talk to a user, to talk to a person confidently. Okay, this is about your data flow. And the next one, your thinking. The way you think on SAP FICO should be different. The way you are going to think on SAP FICO should also get changed. You need to think, point number 1, business point of view you have to think. Point number 2, consultant point of view you have to think. Point number 3, user point of view you need to think. Now, when you are in any project, when you are working for any organization in real time as a FICO consultant, you are going to have these 3 players. You will have business, in short the business process owners or your client. You will be there as a consultant and you will have another person called user. In short, you are at the middle. You are playing a role of consultant. Consultant is always at the middle. You are going to work based on the instructions, the requirements provided by the business. You are going to work based on the instructions or the requirements provided or given by the user. Given by the business or your client. Based on that, as a consultant, you will do something in SAP, either it is config, whatever. And whatever you do, make sure your work is validated, your work is approved or confirmed by the user. So you need to make sure you are convincing, you are meeting the requirement, expectation of the business. At the same time, you are meeting the requirement, you are convincing the end user also. Most of the times, whatever the client says, whatever the client or business says, user may say that no, this is very difficult, I have to do a lot of steps for it, can you simplify it? Now sometimes business and the client, sometimes the business and the user may be in sync, sometimes these two may not be in sync. Business tells no, we don't want like this. Sometimes your clients, your user says no, why we are doing like this is not what we wanted, this is improving, this is increasing my work, the number of steps that I am doing is increasing, I don't want this, please simplify this. If a user is saying something just like that, as a consultant you cannot do it, you need to get the confirmation from the business. So you need to make sure you are able to think from the business point of view. You are also able to think from the user point of view before you do any activity as a FICO consultant. These points I want everybody to keep in your mind right from the beginning, because I want you to think exactly the way you will be thinking when you're in a project as a FICO consultant. Okay, it's not that you think something differently during your learning and you will find something else when you're in a project. That should not happen. Majoritarily, maximum points, whatever you do, whatever you learn, the way you practice, I want everybody to realize the same points when you're in any project. Right, so the outcome you will be seeing when you're in a project, when you join any organization, you will see why you're thinking, why we are talking, why we are understanding all these points at the beginning, because these are all the points that are going to help you when you're in an organization. These points are not going to help you even in your interview, but these points are all going to help you when you're in a project. As we discussed, our focus is assuming you are in a project, you joined an organization as a FICO consultant. Whatever the knowledge, whatever the understanding that you have, that is what is our target. So I am not focusing on your interview clearance. You are also not focusing on your interview clearance. You are focusing on surviving in your job. When you get a job, I am also focusing on the same point. I want to make sure you are able to work independently, confidently when you join any organization. Let us have the same target. Only then it is possible for us to learn things and experiment things, understand things collectively in a same way. Okay, so these 3 points you need to see, which means anything that you're saying, see it from the business point of view in an organization, how this is used. Similarly, this business point of view, see it from consulting point of view, whether this is possible in SAP or not first. If it is possible, is there any configuration for this? If yes, what is the configuration? If no, how do I do it? For any requirement where there is no configuration in standard, how do you bring those things into SAP? How do you meet those requirements? And how your end user is going to work on this business process on a day-to-day basis. So these points, if you are able to understand, if you are able to at least think, remember these points, automatically in our day-to-day sessions, for all the configurations, this is the approach, this is what the points we are going to consider. Okay, this is point number 2 that you need to consider, data flow, and this one. Third one is your system landscape. It's another important point that I want everybody to keep in your mind. When you talk about system landscape, keep in your mind, you will development, quality, production. Okay, when you talk about a system landscape in SAP, you have 3 system landscape. One is your development, the other one is quality, third one is production. Now, whenever you do any configuration or whenever you do anything as a FICO consultant, first thing that should strike your mind is system landscape, development, quality, production. Blindly, these 3 points should sit on your mind. And remember, anything that you're configuring on system when you're practicing, anything that you're configuring on your system when you're practicing, blindly remember that you're going to create this in development system. You're going to create in this development system. Point number 2, you will have SAP logon pad. You'll have like this SAP logon pad. I'll share all this SAP logon pad installation, everything. When you look at this SAP logon pad, I don't want anyone's SAP logon pad with a single line like this. Let's say now if you see this, the SAP logon pad, you're able to find only a single line S4HANA 1909 whatever. I don't want anybody SAP logon pad to look like this. Strictly, none of your SAP logon pad is going to look like this. If your SAP logon pad is looking like this, the way you are learning, the way you're looking at the SAP logon pad itself is wrong. Okay, the first point that you're looking on SAP itself is wrong. If your SAP logon pad is containing only a single line, no SAP, no client, no organization will have a single line on SAP logon pad. Everybody will have two or three. Everybody will have two or three. If you are an end user, you will have these two, quality production. If you are a consultant, you will have these three: development, quality production for a consultant, quality production for a user. Now you are going to become an end user or you are going to become a consultant. What we are doing, we are going to become a consultant. Consultant should have three logon pads, sorry, three connection details on your SAP logon pad strictly. If you are not having three connection details on your SAP logon pad, the way you're looking at the logon pad, the first point number one itself is wrong. Forget about how you log in and all is all secondary. If your mind is not filled with, you have three systems in the SAP landscape: development, quality, production. When you open SAP logon pad, if you are unable to see three servers, then what you are doing is wrong. I don't care what you are doing inside SAP, but at least the appearance, the way you look at the system should be practical. Okay, so if you go to connections, now here you are able to see the different servers. I have given for test purpose development, production, quality, development, quality, production, whatever the sequence, minimum three you need to have. Same connection you will create three times. First time you put development as the name, second time you will put quality as a name, third time you will put production as a name. Strictly, when you open SAP logon pad, you must see development, quality, production, without which I strictly say that whatever the way you are looking at the system is wrong. Make sure this is another point. And anything that you do as a FICO consultant, you need to have a clarity what are you doing on the system. You need to have a clarity what are you doing, for which you have to depend on data flow. Now, if your intention is to do configuration, where is this configuration done? If your intention is to create master record, where to create the master record? If your intention is to create a transaction, where to create the transaction? If your intention is to generate any report, where do you generate the report? Now you need to have clarity on these points to ensure that which system you need to log into, because tomorrow when you're working as a consultant, you will have like this. Let's say you are working on a support project. Let's say you're working on a support project wherein you are a shared resource. So you will be working as 2 points. Point number one, shared resource. Point number two, dedicated resource. When I talk about shared resource, I will be working for multiple clients. When I'm talking about shared resource, I will be working for multiple clients. When I'm talking about a dedicated resource, it's a one client. It's a one client. For example, if I'm working as a shared resource, I'm talking about you are going to have multiple clients. Let's say I'm going to have ABC client, XYZ client, and also 123 client. When I'm talking about dedicated resource, I may be having only ABC client. I may be dedicated only to ABC client. Now, in this case, let's say you're working in any one of the organizations as a SAP FICO consultant, you are working on support project, or you're assigned to a support team wherein you need to support as a shared resource. When you're working as a shared resource, you may be supporting for multiple clients. In this example, you are supporting three clients: client ABC, client XYZ, client 123. Now, irrespective of the number of client, every client is going to have three system landscape: development, quality, production. So in this case, when you log into SAP, you must find, let's say this is your SAP logon pad. This is your SAP logon pad. In this, you should find ABC development, ABC quality system, ABC production system. Similarly, if you are also working for XYZ, you should have XYZ development system, XYZ quality system. You should find XYZ production system. If you are also working for 123 client, you will be having 123 development client, 123 quality client. You should also find 123 production client. Now, when you go to SAP logon pad, if you are working in this environment as a FICO consultant tomorrow in any organization, the moment you log into or the moment you open SAP logon pad, you are going to find these many lines here. ABC development quality production, XYZ development quality production, 123 development quality production. You must have a clarity in which client you need to log into. Now you should not feed in your mind in such a way when you open SAP logon pad, like the way you practice, you will have a single client. I will log in, I will do everything there. That is the wrong mindset, that is the wrong approach. Initially, if you do not know these points, later on it is very difficult to understand and to relate, to make sure that you are not getting confused. Later on, whatever you are adding, which are supposed to be added at the beginning, will never be clear, will never be confident, will never give you the confidence if you are adding these points at the later on, which you should not do. Clear? On the other side, if you are working only for a single client as a dedicated resource, you may be ending up having only these 3 points. Let's say you may be having on your SAP logon pad only these three, but either you will have three or you will have multiple, but never you have one. Impossible that you will find a single connection detail on SAP logon pad. Clear? Make sure when you do the connection details on your SAP logon pad, it is multiplied by 3. Each client multiplied by 3. Development, quality, production. Blind logic you need to keep in your mind. Tomorrow, in case if somebody is asking you what is a system landscape, make sure you talk about development, quality, production. In the upcoming session, we will understand what is development, what is quality, what is production, what you will do in development, what you will do in quality, what you will do in production. Why you have these three? Everything we will understand conceptually in detail, but these are the initial points that you need to keep in your mind at the beginning. Apart from this, you need to understand one more point: documentation. Another point is documentation. When we talk about documentation, anything that you do as a FICO consultant in your organization, in your project, everything you have to document. Whatever you do as a FICO consultant, it must be documented. If you're not to document something, you're not supposed to work on anything. For example, if you do initially the business requirement, you will have to prepare something called BBP or SDD, business blueprint or solution design document. Business blueprint, this is BBP. On the other side, let me put this. Solution design document. This one. This is the first document that you are going to have. Next one, key data structures, KDS document. Next one, business process master list. This is nothing but BPML document. After that, RICEF list document. Next one, configuration document. Next one, unit testing, in short UT document. Next one, user acceptance test or UAT document. Next one, system integration test or SIT document. Next one, regression test or RT document. Next one, user manual. Okay, and test scripts and user authorization or role metrics approval metrics. These are the kind of documentation that you must be aware of. What is always secondary, but first thing, you should keep these documentation names in your mind. These document names must be in your mind at the beginning itself. Later on, we are not supposed to add it. Later on, when you add it, we are going to understand in detail what it is. But initially, you must know, okay, this is also part of this. In short, these are the initial checklist. These are the initial things, points that you must know even before you look at SAP screen. Even before you log into SAP, I want you to know different things, different terminologies, different functionalities. Only then it is possible for you to understand what you are doing on SAP and why. Otherwise, if you are straight away logging into SAP, we are straight away doing the things, we will end up confused. First, you are doing blindly without knowing anything. Later on, if I tell you this is for this, you will get confused. Because when you're doing on the system for the first time, whatever is going inside your mind for the first time will go and it will sit permanently there. Later on, it is very difficult to repair it. If your first sitting, if your first thing, whatever you are looking at is correct, is proper, later on you can improve it further the way you want, because you will not get into any confusion as your initial understanding is valid, correct. Okay, these documentation names that you need to prepare, that you must be aware of. In short, tomorrow when you're working as a FICO consultant, these are all the documentations that you will be working upon. So what it is always a secondary. First of all, we must know the name of these mandatory documents. There are different other documentation which are not needed as of now. These are mandatory terms that you must be aware of. Okay, after this, the next point. Okay, next point I want you to remember is transport request. In short, these are nothing but TR. They are nothing but TR. So whatever you are going to do, you have a data flow which we have listed above. Business configuration, sorry, business requirement, configuration, master data, transaction data, and report. This data flow has got a direct connection with the system landscape. In your data flow, you first have the business requirement. Based on the business requirement, you will be doing the configuration. This configuration out of the system landscape, you have three levels in your system landscape: development, quality, production. This configuration, where are we doing? Are we doing it in development? Are we doing it in quality? Are we doing it in production? If development, how you will do it in quality? If quality, how you will do it in production? Or you will do in one client, you will move it to the different other servers. Those things practically we need to understand right from the beginning, even before we log into SAP. So here, when you talk about transport request, you have two type of request. One is customization request, which is nothing but CR. The other one is workbench request, which is nothing but WR. In reality, in general terms, you will call both as TR only. Nobody will specifically tell whether it is customization request or workbench request. In general, you call it as transport request TR. Somebody will tell you what is the TR number. Please move the TR to development to quality. Please move the TR to production, or please release the TR. So these terminologies we frequently hear. You must know that there is something called a transport request, in short TR. In transport request, there are two types: workbench and customization. These points I want you to remember for today, along with this prerequisite checklist, whatever we have listed. So I'll put regular class 1. Clear it? Let me stop the recording for now.